sick.
All right, let's shift gears. It's going to be our next round of 8 match coming up here. It's going to be Special going up against Showtime. And you already alluded to it, Ben, before, with Special having moved in through to the round of 16 in GSL. But talk to me more about Special, because a lot of people have very, very high hopes for him to be able to do well here at this WCS Spring Circuit stop.
Absolutely. Special, he had a bit of a rough Katowice, but he still put up a really good performance. He was in that Protoss group with the 5 Protoss and him.
Yeah, that one.
But he actually went, he came pretty close to qualifying. It was literally one map against Stats, and he would have been through, went 2-3 against all those Korean Protosses. Then in GSL, he really showed up. And Special, he's very hit or miss. Sometimes he didn't used to make events, and he'd be like, why didn't you do why didn't you go? And he's like, I didn't want to. But he's looking so much more confident than the last few years. His style is always very erratic, multitasking going on everywhere. He's a very difficult Terran to play against.
Roddy, thoughts on Special?
It's kind of the same story as we always have, right? We do feel that, yes, there is a Neep and there is a Serral, but Special should really, finally win one of these big WCS events out there, because we know that he's dominant in the Latin American scene. He always wins that Challenger. And then you can pretty much fill in his name these days in the top 16, very often in the top 8.
Top 4.
Even a top 4 wouldn't be shocking. But where's that trophy, James?
I mean, that's one of my big questions, which is, it's almost predestined that Special usually gets to a top 4 when it comes to the WCS circuit, but can never go that step further. So do you put that down to anything once we take a look at the maps coming in, or is it now Special's time? Is it up to Special here?
I always feel that Special runs into somebody that can just hold him, Special is a wild bull. He's going to throw the whole book at you and some strange things that you've also never seen before, given that he practices in Korea like a madman, practically lives there at this point in time. And there are those guys, the Serrals of the world, the Neves of the world, even the Showtime in some cases can be that wall to really hold him. And I feel that if you can manage to contain him, to manage to really get past the early game, maybe you have a shot.
Well, on that point, you're talking about the walls. What better to go up against than Dimauer himself in Showtime, a guy that is usually a wall to try and stop the tide of aggression that may come his way. Talk to me about Showtime, because, again, a lot of people are saying he's on form as well. It really feels like all of these guys almost inspired by what happened in 2018 to really push themselves all that further.
Yeah, of course, Showtime was actually close to being maybe a Serral, right? A couple of years ago, all eyes were on him. He was the one to defeat Beyond back then at the Global Finals, and we really thought that maybe he's the one to go all the way, and he's the one to make StarCraft history. In the end, that was Serral. But Showtime is still, even if he's in a slump, he can lose 3-4 tournaments in a row, he can have early exits. All the Europeans will still always agree he is the best European Protoss, and that really says a lot. They play against him not just on the ladder, not just in tournaments, but in custom games as well. And they'll be like, I don't know what happened in this tournament, but he is still the guy. Everybody agrees with it. All the races agree with it, that he is still our European Protoss player. And you said it, Special has these deep runs, and I think Special almost always beats everybody that he's supposed to beat.
Yeah.
And then there are often guys that he's maybe not supposed to beat, the Neep and the Serral. And Showtime, I feel like that's dead even. That's like a make it or break it point, which makes sense, right? We're reaching the quarterfinals of this tournament, and that's when you are expecting Special to run into trouble, and I do think he's going to have a lot of trouble with Showtime.
And likewise, our Twitch chat thinks that these round of 8 matches very, very close in stat. It was 55-45 in the previous one. Now it's 55-45 once again. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It is time to go to a break before we get into our next match here for WCS Spring. It's the round of 8. Will Dimauer hold strong, or will Special throw his master ball at the round of 4?
Hello everyone and welcome back to the final day of WCS Spring, where we are getting ready to hop into this awesome Terran versus Protoss. We did the pre-game, we're doing the game as well, Ben.
We're a two-man show, Kevin, or Claris as well. But yeah, this matchup, I'm really excited for this. Special, he's always shown us a really crazy style. He's a true Terran foreigner that moved to Korea, went the full distance, you know. He's top 16 in GSL as well this season. He's looking very, very strong. But it's when you talk about Europeans, and you talk about very consistently good Europeans as well, Showtime always is very high on that list.
This is going to be such a fun one, and I think one thing that gets me a little extra excited here, besides the fact that this is already a quarterfinals, is that the TVPs in this tournament have been pretty freaking good. And one man that's in this series is absolutely responsible for some of that fireworks, and that's this man. The also handsome Showtime had a fantastic series yesterday against Clem. Maybe he didn't enjoy it as much as we did. He maybe felt that he was a bit off his game, but the casters loved it, and it seemed like everybody that was watching the stream was loving those games as well.
He was actually exhausted after that game. You saw it on his face and even talked about it. But to introduce our players, this is the first game of the series. Spawning in the top left, playing as the blue Terran, it is Special.
And the man who looked exhausted, and to be honest, man, I was kind of happy about it, because I felt exhausted after casting those games in the right bottom side. Of course, hailing from Germany, it is Showtime. He, of course, is a WCS champion. Once upon a time had that fantastic victory over Nurcho.
Was it Nurcho?
Yes, in Tour back then.
When did he play against Snoot? Oh, he lost against Snoot, right?
He played against Snoot in the final of the Copa Intercontinental in the Mexico event. That was a really awesome event as well. It was a lot smaller, right? It was
Showtime has been through like different eras. Like he's played against different champions here, there, everywhere. But just to talk about this game initially, so Port Alexander, one of the larger maps in the pool. Also, one thing that we have to talk about, there's only one way into the main base for a Reaper. So Showtime's immediately gone for that low ground wall off. Whether he's going to complete it or not, that's a story that we'll see, and it does look like he is going for that full ground wall off as well. So it means that the Terran can't scout. Now, you can open up in very strange ways. You can do like proxy oracle, you can do like very, very greedy macro.
I love that you bring that up, man, because yesterday he did do the same opening on Port Alexander, and he did go for the proxy oracle.
Right.
Obviously, you know this. Pro gamers go over those VODs from yesterday. Special wants to see the games of Showtime. If he now sees the exact same wall as that Showtime showed yesterday against Clem, but like you said, you can go for a proxy oracle, but you really don't have to.
That's what makes these kind of openings so dangerous. You show everything down to a T that I'm doing it exactly the same as this game that you've definitely studied. Now, this is a good opening on this map because denying your opponent of information is obviously very, very powerful, but the fact that Special isn't going to know what's happening, that's definitely a nice position for the Protoss to be in, which makes this map so good for Protoss.
We're going to see this funny interaction again where this Reaper is going to hop against this one. It's going to be like, can I catch a glimpse of that Nexus? He's going to go as deep as possible, but the Adept is here. He's going to push this Reaper away. So right now for Special, it's a bit of a guessing game. We know nothing too crazy or scary is happening. But if you're Special right now, there's already 17 different things going through your head, and he's going to check for all the proxies. They don't exist, but you have to do it.
And the thing is, this Reaper can't do any damage or any scouting on that side of the map, so he might as well use it in the way that the best way he can, which is scouting around the map, make sure that nothing frisky is going on from his opponent. He did open up with a barracks first, and then like a marine after, so that's a bit of a safer opening. Didn't want to like die to any sort of proxies and stuff. Also didn't want the probe being a nuisance, but does follow up with reactors, marines, and a Hellion actually. Very unusual.
I find this build by Showtime a tiny bit unusual as well, though, because it's a super fast robo. I mean, obviously it can work and it's very safe against certain aggressive openings, but there's not too much you can normally do with an Immortal this quickly. There's going to be that Hellion as well that is now revealed. These two Adepts are going to be annoying. The Reaper needs to show up and help out. It will actually help out. One Adept does go down. I think that Special handled that very well. Showtime is just going to go crazy aggressive, I think, here.
Yeah,
this
look
is
at
not
the probe count, Kevin.
It's not a regular build. And look at that Viking. The Viking's so massive. No, he canceled the Viking. He had a Viking on the production tab, and that would have been one of the greatest units he could have possibly made right now.
Yeah, War Prisms, they don't have much health, and Vikings do a lot of damage to them. Now, Special is still really in the dark here. He's really trying to find out what's going on. He can't scout anything at this point in time. Showtime has stopped pro production for quite some time. Terran being ahead in that regard is really, really crazy. But the thing is, this Reaper still cannot scout. There are multiple gateways on the way.
I love the fact that Showtime is following this Warp Prism up with an Observer immediately as well. So this is not even one of the scenarios where the Cloak Banshee is going to keep you safe forever. Banshees, of course, are good and have a lot of DPS. Reaper is still trying to do whatever he's getting. Nope, still no entry for you. This is going to get very, very hard to deal with already for Special. And if Special would have only had that Viking, I really feel his life would have been a lot easier.
Yeah, because the Banshee, I mean, with an Observer against Stalkers and stuff, it's not going to do that much better. He does see the Warp Prism.
That's the only thing he saw, though. He doesn't know about the Sentry. I think there could be a Force Field on the ramp, an old school Force Field on the ramp, perhaps. He's going to go back. He's going to pick up these units. I don't know if he wants to do that now. He's going to go for the Guardian Shield instead. But this is going to cost Special a lot of SCVs.
And he's denying Cloak as well here. This is getting pretty dicey. The Banshee does pop out, but without repair, is there even a tank on the field yet? I'm not even sure there is at this point, Kevin.
No, because he made the heli and then he started making all the add-ons, right? So there is no tank yet. Widowmine does connect with a couple of these Stalkers, so that is very nice. There is one tank that's almost out, but a few more units will get warped in. He's going to have to save these Stalkers with the Warp Prism, but we know that Showtime is capable of that.
I think Special's actually holding this pretty decently, though. Like, if he can survive here, which I think he will, nice Warp Prism micro, but these Stalkers are getting ridiculously low, and Special taking out pretty much everything, and he does hold ridiculously well.
I would have loved to see Showtime keep that Immortal on the ground a little bit longer there while the barrier was activated, right? I mean, that's when you can actually soak up a couple of shots. And even if an Immortal just gets 2 shots off on a tank, well, that's often enough to take out almost any tank, right? Indeed, very good defense, but Showtime is not 100% done yet, Ben. And we've seen this before where we think Terran is almost out of the woods, but then they're not totally yet. Showtime is 5 workers ahead as well. And there are some scenarios we can normally say like, well, Terran is about to have Stim. None of that is happening in this game.
Like, the big things here are Showtime is resuming pro production, and he is getting ahead in that regard, but Special's economy definitely got stumped there, but he's still in a pretty decent position. The thing for Special is he doesn't know what the follow-up for Special is going to be at this point. Like, those Stalkers getting massacred by these tanks, by the way.
Does get one of them, but that was kind of a risky move by Showtime, and losing these Stalkers is painful. Don't forget about that Liberator, by the way, that was heading towards the other side of the map. The Liberator is on the south side of the main. I really don't know if Showtime has any units. Shield Battery is not going to help out against Liberators.
Absolutely not. This Viking does find this Warp Prism, but he has to shuttle on home very, very quickly, does stay alive. Damage being done. Oh, well, the Shield Battery does well on those Stalkers, Kevin, so that's decent. This Liberator doesn't get anything done. Nice little hold by Showtime.
Yep, and one Banshee in the natural is also not going to get much done because there is a Shield Battery. Special knows that it's not even worth keeping that one around. But I do agree with you. In the end, there was good defense by Special. I was a little bit more worried about it at first. I didn't even think that Showtime really necessarily messed it up, right? I didn't see any big flaws in the micro. It was just good defense by Special.
It felt like one of those holds where Special pulled the right amount of SCVs, he got out his units, he microed decently, focus fired decently as well. And Showtime, he's definitely got his work cut out for him now. He did deny Cloak, so he doesn't have to worry too much about these Banshees, and he's going for a bit of everything here. Charge, +1 attack, and he's definitely going to be going into Colossus here.
Yep, with the +1 that would make a lot of sense, especially if you go for the Zealots here as well. I have the feeling that Special's probably just going to build up a big army. He is throwing down another command center in his main base, but I still think the very first time that Special moves out, that's one of those pushes where you really do want to get a lot done, especially if you bring the Raven and the Raven does fall, but you use all of its energy. You need to make some magic happen there as a Terran player.
Yeah, don't make any mistake about it. Like, the Terran is ahead here, I feel. Like, his army is going to get really strong really soon. That Raven also is pretty darn good against Colossus-type play, so it feels like Special's predicting what his opponent's going to go. And in fact, the Raven's very good against DT follow-ups and possible cheeses because, again, he was lacking all that information. But Special, he's in good shape right now.
Yeah, and that's a nice little start in this quarterfinals. Of course, it's still early, and these best of fives can go on for a long time. But it would have been a disastrous way to start to immediately lose against a Warp Prism and Immortal and a couple of Gateway units. So definitely so far so good for Special. Would obviously love to make another appearance in the semi-final, but long way to go.
Yeah, he's got to get through this big man here in Showtime. By the way, it's beautiful that Showtime opened up this series doing something crazy aggressive and crazy weird, especially given that that's not his reputation, right? He's definitely playing against his image, which kind of might throw his opponent off a little bit in this series.
It's definitely true, but I also do feel over the last year and a half, Showtime is maybe a little more now to mix it up. Like, obviously, we still call him D-Mauer, he's still the wall, and he is a very defensive Protoss in general, but in most best of 5s or best of 7s, there's at least one off game, especially in the PvZ matchup. He has gone full crazy for quite some time by now. I do like the double drop, by the way, heading towards the main base. There aren't that many observers. There's only a single observer, and it spots the Raven and it spots the army. But Showtime is completely in the dark about this double drop that's heading towards his main.
Yeah, this is already a scary army by the Terran. Not many medevacs on the field. Oh, is caught by the army of Showtime here. That is a nice amount of units to leave behind in your main base. Showtime also trying to be aggressive on Special's side of the map.
You know what's really funny? Showtime actually pulled those units away already. Those Stalkers and that one Colossus was heading towards the third base. He was going to use it here to defend against the main army. Didn't know about the drop, but Special perhaps just a little bit unfortunate there with his timing. Right when the units were still in the main, he was already dropping.
By the way, I love how he utilized that Banshee still throughout the game. The cloak got denied, but he still kept getting damage done and utilized every unit as best as he could. He does have a 20 supply lead here. His third is now landed. Worker-wise as well, he's actually ahead in that regard, but you can't doubt the tech of Showtime. He's taken up to High Templars, the Colossus as well. The only real answer is the Raven. Like, there is so much being banked on these Colossus right now, doing a lot of work, and Special has the counter.
I'm still worried about the map vision of Showtime. He really doesn't see that much. He has that one observer. Taking a look where he currently put it. It's once again going to spot the main army. He's going to fly into the Raven. He had one observer. That one is gone right now. This hallucinated Felix is also an unfortunate patrol
miss
path.
It just, yes, just misses it. A little bit of a skirmish going on here by Special. Does want to deny the fourth, I do believe, up here, which...
I think he's going to be successful in it. And but you know what I'm very afraid of? Almost all of the attack is in the same place in the main base. Special is now arriving in the main base. Special doesn't need to take this fight. He just wants to be successful in the main. As we can see with a little bit of picture-in-picture. There goes the Templar Archives. Right next to it is the Robo Bay. The forces are there as well. This is a very, very successful drop.
I like that he left that Artosis pylon with one health over there on the left, but he's dealing a lot of damage. This was a little risky though. Running in on that pylon looked like a bit of a misclick, but is there just too much Special, dealing too much damage everywhere? Oh, what's going on here?
Okay, he left his medevac. It's so bizarre. He did get the Templar Archives in the end. He got the Nexus, the Templar Archives. Obviously should have got that Zealot as well that you mentioned that was powering the Robo and the 3 gates. But it felt like he really didn't need to commit to the fight on the north side, right? He was doing so good with just his drop. He didn't need to take that trade. He did snipe a couple of the High Templars, but there was no storm anyway.
Special does a lot of things really right, but also can look a little bit sloppy at times, given that there is so much chaos going on at the map. He was defending, he was attacking in the north, attacking in the south, and just a little bit got out of control there. Now, Showtime, he feels comfortable enough to move out on the map.
Showtime's army is actually looking really strong compared to Special's army, Ben.
He feedbacked Raven earlier too, which was a really big point.
Well, he's going to go for a forward link. Those 2 tanks look quite vulnerable. There are 2 more tanks coming in from the high ground, so I think Showtime should probably just avoid them. But now it's Showtime's time to return the favor. He's going to get a lot of SCVs here. They're all lining up for these Colossus to get some good swipes off. 20 SCVs have gone down. Liberated did get 7 probes on the other side of the map.
Oh, multiple Liberators as well.
But a really good attack by Showtime here, though.
This is getting a lot of damage done. The supply is as equal as it has ever been in this game. This is a huge army by Special, trying to close in, but Showtime, not giving him the time of day, moves up and retreats to the safety.
One thing that is a real special though, is that even after losing 21 SCVs, he's still at 50 workers, right? He always has a very, very high SCV count. Obviously, we know he's amazing. He's good friends with TY, and TY is known for it. Likes to go up to 100 workers, believe it or not, guys. So, Special's economy is absolutely not crippled. It took some damage, but he's still in this game.
Right now, though, those last minute or two definitely went well for Showtime. Now it's Showtime's time to shine. 2-2 is soon to be done. Special right now has to delay, has to buy time, has to continue to try and get something a little bit done. And these are very low health medevacs here. This is a bit scary.
Yeah, but he does still get all of these marauders in the main base. Maybe just settle for the pilots and the Robo now. He wants to get a Stalker. He will get the Robo. Oh. That is a big snipe. Because, Ben, that means right now there is no Templar Archives and no Robo. That means nothing but gateway units at this point for Showtime.
And what's he going to spend his gas on? I mean, he does have a really large gas bank at this point in time too. It would be lovely to warp in those High Templars. But Showtime, I feel he's getting a grasp on this game now. He's starting to defend everything and defending everything pretty well. The upgrades are pretty good. He's also at a 4th base and his economy is huge.
And he still has those 2 Colossus, of course. He's just getting extra gateways. I guess he's going to spend some of his gas maybe on 3-3 upgrades, or he's just going to commit to a massive attack. He can wipe in a lot of sentries because he does have all the gas. He's going to rebuild the Templar Archives now, so he's kind of saying like, you know what, I don't need a Robo.
I think this was a situation as well where maybe the Templar Archives, until he realized, like, oh, I actually need that. I could have spent so much money. Oh, Special also floats over his main base. So this is getting pretty desperate at this point in time. And the more you spread out as a Terran against a mobile Protoss, it gets more worrisome. So not having your fourth as a PF, that's scary.
I must say it's impressive to see that Showtime still does get some vision. I'd be so paranoid, by the way, guys. Like playing Protoss against Terrans, having no observers on a map like Port Alexander, I'd be so afraid. But he's still getting quite some vision out of these hallucinated Phoenixes. And hey, since he had so much gas, he's got all the sentries. He can kind of keep doing this.
Actually, yeah, without the Robo to make the obs and he makes the sentries using the hallucination, he's very, very good at it, actually, spotting quite a few drops, and even just having few units here, there, and everywhere. Going up to 5 bases is the Protoss now, getting that 3-3 as well. 9 tanks, by the way. Holy, that is a huge amount of tanks, and very, very scary to go up against.
Yep, Zealots can be very, very good against tanks though. Special's gonna try it one more time. I don't think there's too much in the main base. There's actually nothing in the main base right now for Showtime, even though he's been trying. He is sending Zealots on the other side of the map. That's not a planetary. That is a orbital command, so these Zealots, they could maybe get some damage on. Get in the bunker, guys! What are you doing?
Oh, there's too much going on. He's in the main base trying to deal counter damage, but Showtime's there yet again. Showtime's also got half his army up at the north bases, so he's just covering all the angles here. Really, damage. This is a game. This is a great game. This is Special doing what he does as well. He just multitasks like a madman. Some of the fights may not go his way. They may be a little bit sloppy, but he's getting damage done everywhere, and he's making Showtime work for it.
You know the best thing about all of it? It's only game 1, guys. It's only game 1. TVP really delivering in this tournament so far. Showtime still looking mighty fine in this game, though, of course, guys. Even getting a Stargate now, a Dark Shrine. Those 3-3 upgrades are about to finish up, and these Zealots, I mean, they're not going to worry too much about the tanks if they can get close.
Kevin, his army's being kind of split here. Force fields on the tank, does split the army, but shaves off quite a few of those units. Bit of a patience blink right there, stuck in his own force field. But Showtime, look at these supplies. He's so far ahead at this point in time. Equal upgrades, it must be said, but when you have to defend 2 exposed orbitals, it gets very hard with a slow army with tanks.
Not for much longer though, upgrades that is. +3 attack finishing up right now. Special knows there's no way to save this orbital. All of his tanks are out of position. Well, they are on the high ground there.
That is a lot of damage, and Special's actually moved out with his Bioforce, so trying to get counter damage done. And what is going to be recalled here? That is a decent amount.
You could have bought that, actually. I think if you stand there, obviously you don't know that, right? So that's very easy. Hindsight is everything. Maybe get the prison, that'd be a nice little pick-off. But there were only 2 Colossus there in the mix. So if he just clicks on those Colossus immediately, he could have potentially get it. Special is actually getting flanked here by some of the forces of Showtime. Showtime's still close to maxing out. And the only thing that Special truly has are all these tanks.
But they're so immobile at this point in time. His economy is so much worse than Showtime. Showtime trying to fight far away from these tanks as best as he can, and he's doing a pretty good job of it. But his bank is huge, and 84 probes. It feels like Showtime even going for Blink DTs, doubles or triple Stargate even. He's in great shape.
He knows Fear Dragon is watching, and he wants to make Fear Dragon happy there as well. He's like, I may be European, but I can give you some Blink DTs. Okay?
I mean, Blink DTs are also very good in the late game. You know, you get those little Zealot DT squads who snipe PFs like they're nothing. And the fact that there are no PFs on this map right now is going to deal a lot of damage. And this just gets annoying. Makes him use a scan, picks up the DTs. Great play.
Special has not been able to break 150 supply over the last few minutes in this game, while Showtime just feels like he's getting richer and richer. He's going to be able to pick up this pilot, Special it is, that's nice. This time there is no recall available. So maybe getting a Nexus here is nice, but this is just one of the many bases that Showtime has. Careful with IW, Showtime.
These tanks getting some nasty damage there. And that was a pretty good exchange for Special, honestly. Like, he does defend, but now he's going to start getting pulled apart here. Showtime, he's richer. He can afford to throw away units. And the Tempest, they haven't even been combined with the army yet. What are the tanks going to do against Tempest, Kevin?
I feel like Showtime wants to win this game with style and elegance almost. I really feel like if this was me, I'd be like, War Prism, Zealot spam everywhere, and eventually I'll get those tanks, right? And eventually I'll break down my Terran opponent. Showtime was like, no, I'll go for the sophisticated army, okay? Some Tempest, a little bit of harass, Blink DT. I'm like, okay.
Showtime is like, I just like completed this mission. I'm going to keep on expanding, making my life easy. I'm going to enjoy this moment on this stage. I'm feeling comfortable. Let me embrace it. Let my opponent sweat. So I love the fact that he's doing this in the first game of the series. That is a scare, like that tank count. I haven't seen that kind of tank count unless you go pure mech or something against Protoss in quite some time.
But we've got 12 Marines on the map then. 12 Marines and 1 with a 9. There are 4 Tempests out already. There's just this army is kind of dead on arrival. There's just not that much that can fire up. It's taking a few more Marines Special that is, but those are most likely going to run into this Protoss army. Showtime is all over the place, and the only thing that Showtime truly needs to do, maybe just defend with a couple of Tempests. He can also just spam Dark Templars over and over again, by the way, because how many orbitals are truly landed? And it's 0 at this point. Yeah, he knew it. The writing was on the wall for it. GG. An awesome first game here on Port Alexander. But the German Protoss Showtime will take the 1-0 lead.
That really felt like Showtime just got a control of that game. He threw something a little bit different at Special. Utilized the map very well with the lack of information that Special could get to and made him panic a little bit. Special definitely got a good army together, did a little push across the map, but never really got to make it work. And Special, he held the main base, held the third base, just kept expanding, and yeah, he played how Showtime would play. He just very, very solid all round.
I think that was a very obvious turning point in that game, and that is when he had that successful drop in the main base, but was even a tiny bit indecisive. And then at the same time, he ran that army that he had on the north side towards Showtime, his forces at the fort. Kind of took a bad trade there. That wasn't even the end of the world, but then he kind of only half picked up his units and his medevacs idled. And at that point, where Showtime should have been in a world of trouble, he actually sort of got a victory. And that should have never been a victory for Showtime there, because he was clearly out of position, did not have the units. That was Special's moment to really create a much bigger lead, but I feel that was the breaking point in that game.
Definitely. Also, we got to see glimpses of Special and what he does very well, right? Like, it was constantly trying to drop, and very often we'd see Liberators trying to harass multiple bases while action's happening already. So he definitely makes your life very difficult to play against, but it really feels that if Showtime stays in control, keeps the beast in his chains, he can handle the Special maybe.
The second map is going to be another relatively big one, as we are getting ready to hop into King's Cove, a map that does have a couple of very interesting early tier 2 pushes, I would say. We'll take a look at it on the left top side of King's Cove. We've got our Mexican Terran player. It is Special.
And hailing from Germany, playing for Team Makers, as I read Protoss, currently 1-0 up, it is Showtime. It's always a treat watching Showtime, you know, like there's those Protosses that you know you can watch and you just know they're going to make stuff happen. They're going to use the units in the right way. They're going to do smart plays. The way that he utilized those sentries as well. Now this is unusual, but this is almost like a fake proxy, right? Like this is, he's going to play totally standard with a follow-up. He just wants to make Showtime sweat a little bit. Showtime actually going for scouting around his base first, primarily for those proxies, maybe a little bit worried about them. But Special's doing something a bit strange here.
Yeah, the double gas, right? Like he's taking 2 refineries quick. I mean, it doesn't have to mean anything super crazy,
right.
But...
Yeah, I mean, normally you would like your barracks across the map, so this is something I haven't really seen that often. This used to be the style a while ago.
Could be a real fake out, right? And maybe if Showtime scouts it, because if you think back of Showtime against Clem, when Showtime scouted that he felt he was being proxied, he stayed on one base a little bit longer. So maybe if Showtime doesn't see the barracks and he spots both refineries, he is not going to expand.
One of the big things here is, where does that SV go? Does he... like Special?
He just expands, by the way. He's like, well, okay, I don't care. Go ahead.
Yeah, like this is a base where it's very hard to defend against Reaper harass, so like it's very common to have like a proxy. Oh, seeing the factory here too, you know it's like a far more regular play. Very often that, oh, and he's even going to scout this barracks here too, so Showtime's not going to be thrown off, but this map is usually very good for Reapers, so a proxy barracks Reaper, and then you float the barracks home. There's no way of stopping that Reaper from getting into your base and getting all the information that it wants.
Yeah, well, Showtime is going to be very happy with it. Of course, he did go core before Nexus, as he does leave one of these probes on the north side of the map.
Second Reaper as well, Kevin. Like, this is already a very, very strange. I mean, that can deal with an Adept if you micro it correctly as well, but still, he's putting himself behind economically for all these choices that he's making.
Yep, the command center only now going down. And like I said, Showtime did go core before Nexus, so these units are out still early enough to deal with the Reapers. I feel like Special tried to really scare Showtime, tried to pull off a lot of mind games, but none of it is really working so far, and Showtime's got to feel pretty good.
Did Special take workers off gas? That's one question I'm asking myself. Yes, he did. So it kind of was a bit of a fake out, a bit of an attempt at that. Just wants more minerals to get up the command center, get out some battle units as well. Yeah, so, I mean, it doesn't put Special super far behind, but as long as Showtime doesn't take any damage, he's going to be feeling pretty good about this.
Yep, he knows that his expand was a lot quicker. Now, of course, he is maybe a tiny bit worried, so that's why he didn't chrono boost the probes out as much as he normally would. It's once again, by the way, a very quick robo. Maybe he is worried about some of these like weird Marine tank Viking pushes that we've seen quite often on King's Cove, actually. He is going to get a quick access to the Immortal. Or maybe he just feels like he wants to go for it again. There's actually quite some potential here for these Reapers, as the 2 Reapers and the Hellions will find a relatively exposed mineral line. 2 probes do go down. Showtime still ahead by 3 workers. I think Showtime handled it all right. I was kind of worried he was going to lose 4 or 5 probes, and that would have been painful.
Good pro pull and also good focus fire. That was not attack moving. He was specifically focusing units down one by one just to make sure they die faster and get out less damage output. Here, a decent follow-up by Special. Is this going to be a Cloak Banshee, do you reckon, at this point in time?
I'd say that you are correct in that one, yes. Like, especially if you put it that far back, right? You kind of hope that the tech lab doesn't get scouted immediately. You don't see it spinning, but...
And very often, if you do a Raven build, you know more heavily emphasis, or there's more emphasis on the bio that you want to be making, so lots of Marines already out, and you don't see any of those. So a Raven push, it wouldn't have worked out very well.
Yeah, well, the Observer is already making its way to the other side of the map. He's going to spot the Hellion in the middle as well.
Now, do you think he spots that too?
You mean Special?
Yeah, whether he spotted that blow, or whether this is just there to see maybe a Warp Prism fly by, or something more obvious, you know, like an Oracle. Because does he know what tech he's actually playing against at this point? Because he's going for 3cc, Kevin, which is usually indicative of playing against like a Stargate opening more regularly. Maybe it's about the map itself. This Cyclone, though, does he...
It would be awesome if he could intercept the Observer. That is not happening. So at this point, Showtime knows he is playing against a 3-base opening. And if he goes in just a little deeper, he should know, well, you know, as a pros player, you're not 100% sure, right? We know that he is, yes, indeed scouted. Cloak being researched. Cloak finished up, but he cancelled it.
He faked it, yeah.
He cancelled it.
So he's almost relying on being scouted. So maybe he let in that Observer to see what he saw.
Well, I don't think
there is already a Banshee on the map, so maybe no.
Yeah.
Although we did utilize the Banshee in the first game without Cloak pretty well itself.
That is true, but
so
I think
many
the
possibilities.
I think the fact that Showtime now knows he's playing against 3-base, that is so nice though as a Protoss player. You want to know that as quickly as possible, and he has already spotted it. I am curious what Showtime's game plan is, because he's firing up an Immortal. Now he fires up the Nexus as well. It's not super early, all things considered, right? In this matchup we see it earlier from time to time. Whoa, look at that, Ben! Look at that. 2 more factories being thrown down in the main base of Special.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've ever enjoyed Mech against Protoss, this is going to be it. Now, the hallucinations, I love that he's been utilizing those more than other Protosses that I've seen for scouting information. But yeah, you're right about the Nexus. Upon seeing that 3rd CC, most Protosses would realize they're very, very safe for the foreseeable future. So they popped that down immediately. But Showtime just went along with what he was doing, didn't really pay too much attention to it, and just got that down the 3rd at the very regular time.
Now, Ben, as a expert Terran player yourself, I have to ask you. We saw Hero Marine play Mech on this map against Geralt as well. Is there something specific about King's Cove that does, you know, tend to make these guys go for Mech builds, or it's just it feels right and they just want to make it happen?
It's very large and it's also very nice to defend. You can use this nice choke here between the natural and the 3rd base to defend both entrances. Also, a missile turret behind your natural, like behind the mineral line, and behind the 3rd base, you stop warp prisms from getting in. So you get this very nice fortress structure with Mech, with only real 2 ways up, and you never attack up the natural, right? Like that's a foregone conclusion. You never go there. So you only really have to defend 1 point, really.
And I guess you can even defend the 4th base sort of from the high ground, right?
Yeah,
like if you have your 3-base setup, you can already have the tanks here, and they're kind of covering your planetary fortress a little bit.
Taking a 4th and a 5th as well, they almost cover each other as well. So everything makes sense about playing Mech on this map. It's a very static motion, but also people have discovered how good BCs are against Protoss, which can often get utilized as well.
Well, Showtime has definitely been gearing up for an attack, because he's down in workers without really losing any probes in this game, and that's not normal. And that's not because Showtime doesn't know how to build probes, guys. He absolutely does. He clearly wanted to get as many units out as possible. I find this a bit risky, Ben. Like, you know, attacking early on against Mech. Showtime's army is quite powerful, but he's going to have to go through choke points. It feels like Special's already gearing up for it. Now Showtime goes back into probing, but I kind of feel like Showtime has been putting himself behind a little bit by even attempting or thinking about an attack like this.
Yeah, it's definitely strange, Kevin. Also, just going for the casual armor upgrade when you know you're against Mech, so maybe he didn't realize what he was going up against, or maybe there's something that I just don't know about, but very usually you focus on the attack upgrades entirely against this composition. And Special, he's just been eking out a worker lead, a pretty significant one at this point too. Like, Showtime felt like he was playing way too safe against this, honestly.
This Marine's got some good news for the people at home. They're still on 3 bases, guys. You know, there have been times that this Marine will walk into 4 bases up and running and a 5th base being warmed in. None of that is happening, so Special's gotta feel pretty good.
Oh, okay, so Special's a little bit worried at this point in time because it's like, okay, where has my opponent's economy been going? Like, what kind of army am I going to get attacked with? Because I'm pretty sure he's going to be attacking me with something. So we see that he's adding on the armories, Widow Mines defensively as well, 4 at a time.
I like that, man. I'm a big fan of the Widow Mines. We don't have Drilling Claws yet, right? No, we do not. We've got Blue Flame, and Macfield Accelerator is done as well. Special's just gotta poke a little bit. Look at these Hellions, by the way. They're gonna roast these Zealots. I really dared my Drilling Claws up game. I really like where this game is going for Special, and I don't really know what Showtime is doing. He's now maybe going into Disruptors, right? That would make sense, but I feel that Special has been putting himself in a very good position here.
Yeah, I mean, Disruptors are pretty good. Also against Cyclone Mech, Colossus actually aren't too bad. It's a big weird thing about Colossus being bad against like the very traditional standard mech, but against Cyclone Mech it's pretty decent too. So yeah, 2nd Rover being added, 4th Nexus going down, but these little skirmishes are pretty good for Special because the only thing he's really losing is Hellions, and those are cheap as chips.
Yep, well, +2 attack is on the way. I mean, at this point, I often feel like that mech army really starts producing units properly, right? Like, before it goes up a little bit slowly, these Hellions are just going to drive by. We know what Blue Flame Hellions are capable of. Showtime knows it as well. He's still going to end up losing a couple of throws, but he does have a cannon.
I love where he's
sweet warp in.
Yeah.
That is a sweet warp.
He did it twice as well. He warped in next to the Nexus to block the Hellions, then on the right side. So those are very clutch warp-ins, and also just minimizing the damage so much. This army, though, very scary, but Special's moving out pretty far. Where are the tanks?
Especially with a very ballsy forward blink. Observer goes down. One of the Archons got picked up, I guess, right at the last moment. Warp Prism takes quite a bit of damage as well, though. Showtime's army just doesn't look that impressive to me.
It has nothing that can really pounce on those Cyclones either, right? Like the Zealots can charge after them. There's not enough Blink Stalkers to really take advantage. He is also going into Colossus, by the way. So, I mean, he's doing a lot of funny decisions, I suppose, but I'm just liking this game especially. He's making a lot of the right moves.
I'm liking this game especially a lot. I'm gonna go there. I mean, the Colossus, don't forget Turbo Lance. I mean, without Turbo Lance, these Colossus are gonna die so quickly. You look at the amount of Widow Mines. Against that amount of Widow Mines, yes, Colossus are really good against Widow Mines, keeping them at bay. But if you don't have Turbo Lance, those mines are gonna get close. I'm starting to get really worried, man. Special's got so many factories up and running. His production is off the charge, and this Protoss army, I don't really believe in it.
Okay, so Special, he's actually just attacking with basically half his force here at this point in time. I mean, it is a scary force. Now the Colossus joined the field, and I mean, they do make short work of Hellions and Widow Mines, but the tanks are left at home just being very defensive for Special. Now, I don't think this is the final form of his army either. Like,
look at the mini-map, man. Look at the mini-map. It absolutely is not. Now we've got all the tanks coming in as well. The Cyclones are making their way. Turbo Lance has started, but if these tanks get in range of this Nexus, with all the mines there as well, I mean, maybe Showtime can set up a crazy flank with a couple Zealots from the north side, but I don't think he can run into this.
How do you engage this, Kevin? It's a Protoss player. Nice blink away with the Stalker, still taking quite a bit of damage, but still, he has the army knocking at his door. And Special is sieging him hardcore. These Widow Mines have the upgrade as well, so without an Observer, you can't see them. Now, Disruptors have joined the field. They can start making a little bit of work, forcing the Terran back, but this is so much firepower from our Terran.
That looks like such a mighty, fine Terran army, and the Protoss forces can do nothing but run for now. Turbo Lance still not done. One Colossus very exposed. Cyclones can just dive on that. If one or two of them will lock on it, that's Colossus is going to go down very, very quickly. The rest of the army does show up for Showtime. He still has an army. He still has a force. He's trying to maintain some of these key units, but look at Special. He's still maxed out, and he's starting to get some money in the bank as well.
He's not slowing down anytime soon. That is a big Widow Mine, or rather a big disruption shot and a lot of Widow Mines there. So that was a nice shot for Showtime, but Special, unfazed, still kind of pressuring his opponent and moving fairly slowly at him. The thing is, he's still mining way more than Showtime at this point in time.
That's why I would have preferred Disruptors in the first place, because against all these mines like to clump up a little bit as well. Only if Terran truly has a lot of time to spread them out, you can avoid that. Or Disruptors. Showtime does have those 4 bases again soon. It's like 85% done. That Nexus, Showtime's going to try to go for it from both angles.
Oh, those Widow Mine connections on that South Army did a lot of damage. This Disruptor shot getting a lot of Cyclones too. Wow. Showtime, he's got Special back running home.
those disruptors really turned the battle there. Both of them having a massive impact. First taking out the majority of those mines. Good job there, still having an observer around. It's very easy to lose your observers and forget about Wither Mines with drilling clauses. Of course, they will stay permanently close. There is a fusion core on the way, so maybe we'll get some Liberators with advanced ballistics, or way down the line battle cruisers. But I'm not really feeling battle cruisers yet. I think Liberators with advanced ballistics make a lot more sense here.
We'll see what he goes for. Lots of warpers for. Stalker's been walked in. Special does now know that his opponent is on more base economy again. Now he's doing definite economic damage. That's slow warping by the way on that pylon. But Showtime, he's marching, he's blinking in, he's going hardcore on Special right now. But the interference matrix, what a good hold by Special.
There's a planetary fortress backing all of that up as well, so I think it was a good hold, but maybe a little bit pressure awkward by Showtime. But once again, he saved a couple of his expensive units. Whenever you make attacks like that, losing the Stalkers and the Zealots, obviously you'd rather keep them alive or take down a whole bunch of SCVs, but those are units you can replace. You just can't replace losing 3-4 Immortals, 3 Archons and 2 Colossus in a battle, but Showtime makes damn sure that none of that is happening.
If I had to criticize Showtime in any way this game, I really feel his pro count's been too low against Mech. Like, one of the things about Mech is you can overwhelm it, but the way he's trying to play against this, by taking these engagements, he doesn't really have the economy to back it up. And this is valuable here. It's not as if you can throw away these stocks with this low economy. A nice cheeky Wither Mine there too. And Special, this is the Special we know and love. Yep. Just harassing left, right, and center.
Gonna get quite a few probes here. Recall even being used, but that's a grand total of 11 probes going down already. I love it. The Arc from Recall to deal with Hellions. You don't see that very often. There is a War Prism that's kind of left behind. One Cyclone. That's funny. It's like, well, that Prism is still probably going to be a little bit of damage. It's actually flying towards the Cyclone now.
Well, that was a questionable move, Kev.
Yeah, from any sides, but I'm with you, by the way, on the probe count, especially since Showtime is playing in a way a little bit reckless, right? And if you do want to throw away Stalkers and Zealots, you need an 80 probe economy. Against Fire, you don't always want to have that, because you want to have a big army as well. But against this style, I do absolutely agree with you. But I think it all came down to the beginning of the game. And I think after that, Showtime was a little bit of panic mode. He's like, oh my goodness, actually, my economy is not good, and I am behind.
Yeah, you're definitely right. This is also a really huge map, and we talked about why it's so good for Mech, because it's very easy to hold this 4th base, the 3 bases, even taking a 5th now is Special. And Special getting to this point in time where he's got Liberators on the field with range, also taking up to 3-3 Mech. His army's getting really strong. 5 tanks at a time, 2 Hellions at a time, also making the Liberators, even taking a very cheeky 6th base here in the middle of the map.
You know what this game reminds me a little bit of is the Skillers against Masa game on year 0, right? Where Skillers was also a bit reckless with a relatively low economy, and it felt like he was never really going to be able to get it done. I must say Showtime did manage to tack up better and already managed to get up on a couple of very good fights. I mean, yeah, there's nothing that he can do here. He needs a Stargate to deal with Liberators of Advanced Ballistics. You technically can't mine of this, and this will also allow Special to once again make a massive push, and look at the army. That's an impressive army.
The big question here is for Special, does he actually know where Showtime's army is? Showtime has 2 big armies on the map. This is a little defensive squad, but he could come in from multiple angles here against this army potentially, but does run into that tank line. What's he going to do against this big siege up of Special?
The tanks are already sieged up as well. I think the best thing that maybe Showtime can do is counterattack.
Oh, he could hold off reinforcements at least. That might be a decent move, just catch 3 tanks there. But still, these tanks are dealing good damage. The Liberators and the rest of the army join the field as well.
Is that really a pickoff? I mean, yes, he does get the tanks, but at the same time, he takes a lot of damage. Now, all the tanks are on siege. Maybe this is Showtime's moment. He's got a lot of Zealot. I think it makes sense that he didn't siege immediately. Very smart move by Special, getting some of that initial firepower out. 19 probes have gone down, by the way. I assume to Liberators during all of this.
Oh, yeah, the Phoenix, it means that Liberator's incredibly slow as well. Oh, that's another thing as well. It's +3 Mech against that 2-shot Phoenix. So it's literally doing like 2 damage per hit or something like that.
Well, that's probably why he sent the probes back eventually. He's like, yeah, Phoenix will take care of it. It's like, nope,
not for a while.
20 probes actually went down to all those Stalkers, or at least a couple of them do go down as well. Showtime does get a cancel on one of those bases on the top side of the map, but I don't think he really has the power to kill the Planetary. He's got an Immortal. The Immortal does some good work, and I guess this Planetary will go down. So that is nice, but you look at the supplies and you know that this, for Special, ain't nothing but a scratch.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a very peripheral base that he took out there, did Showtime. But moving in any further, it's going to be helpless. And right now, his economy is so wounded. And in Special, yeah, he lost 17 workers, but he's still got 62. He's still got extra orbitals. He's mining very, very freely. And his army is way stronger than Showtime.
Yeah, I really love the balance that he's gone for this game, right? Of the Widow Mines, the Hellions, and the tanks.
Different phases of mech,
yeah. And the Cyclones as well. I really don't think there is almost anything that we can really criticize Special for. Obviously, he ate 2 or 3 big disruptor shots, but other than that, Special is playing a beautiful mech versus Protoss game here, and it very well looks like he's going to be able to tie up the score. Now, this is an army that's kind of getting trapped. The Liberators need to keep this army safe. Disruptors are going to get a couple of decent shots off. But even if Special loses his army, he's got more on the other side of the map, and he's still getting quite a few units.
I mean, Showtime does clean him up, but the supply tells the tale. 160 supply for Special. Look at that remax as well. Getting 4 tanks, 3 libs, 6 Hellions, 1 Cyclone at a time. Just throwing down a random CC here without an SCV on it. I mean, he's rich, mate.
How did that happen?
I think the SCV must have got cancelled, right?
I think it's a Niels Paul of the Orbital. Call down for a CC. Would that help the matchup, Ben?
Oh, I think so, Kev. I'll suggest that to Bounce Team. And GG. Special ties up the series in a phenomenal fashion.
Awesome game. But, you know, if you really do want to be critical, it's like, what was Showtime really thinking or doing or planning in the first 5-6 minutes of that game? Because he was clearly not building a lot of probes. And this is not the initial scare of the proxy, because I think he figured that out quite quickly. He's got a good scout off. He knew what was happening. Just at one point, he moved out with that army. And yeah, he had units, but it simply was not enough to ever break down through supply depots, to dive into tanks. There were quite a few helis in the mix as well. And at that point, Special suddenly's like, hey, I guess I'm ahead right now, right? Because I've got way more workers than you, and that army can't hurt me.
I really felt that Showtime's plan there wasn't really a plan. It felt like he was very indecisive, but also making a lot of questionable moves. On a map where you can obviously defend as a Terran, your opponent's then cutting probes a lot to get out like a 100 supply army when you're already at 120 supply with depot walls and everything. Yeah. So like, he really sacrificed his own economy to try and get into a game that he was already in if he just didn't sacrifice his economy. Questionable moves by Showtime, but maybe he just wanted to test it out against Special. It is early in the series and he was 1-0 up.
Yep, maybe trying to get a sneaky win there, maybe hoping that Special, his tanks were not sieged, or that he maybe left 1 or 2 in the main base, or I don't know, maybe just hoping that somehow Special wouldn't be ready for it, that he would be able to break through, grab yourself a couple of tanks, grab yourself a Cyclone, then get 10, 15 SCVs and just take the game from there. That was probably the dream. It just really didn't turn out like that.
And it definitely has to be talked about as well. I mean, Special's training in Korea right now. Like, a lot of the European Terrans, it's very fixed when you go mech. And it's like, okay, if you go Stargate opening, you can transition into mech. But we don't tend to do it against the Robo and Twilight opening. So Special showed us something very, very different here. A lot of Widow Mines pushing out across the map too. Like, it was just a very strange scenario of mech. So maybe this is something that does help you when you train in Korea. You come out with these weird styles, because I mean, Korea has always been known for its Terrans.
What I also love is that he didn't immediately go crazy on the Cyclone count, but he had a lot of Hellions.
They were the buffer, right?
Absolutely. I mean, if there's one thing that Zealots really don't want to engage in, it's Hellions and Widow Mines. Anyways, we are looking at the main base of our mech Terran player, hailing from Mexico. It is Special.
And spawning over in the southeast side of Kairos Junction as our Red Protoss playing for Team Makers, it is Showtime.
And Benny, plenty to talk about already in the first 45 seconds. In the previous game, Special kind of made it look like he was proxying, kind of made it look like something crazy was going on. But Showtime did not really respect it. Still, he did go core before Nexus, so you could say it was a little bit safer than Nexus before core. I mean, that's probably would love to see over these side blockers, by the way, guys, but that's not an option. He is sending it, though, towards the... Oh, my goodness. If he can even deny the barracks from finishing
I
up.
mean, he might... Oh, he just spotted the last moment there. So this SCV...
Oh, it's vulnerable there.
Yeah, Specials.
Oh, my goodness. He needs some luck right now.
Some real luck. I mean, this probe doesn't deal a lot of damage.
Oh, my goodness. There's no sweet spot?
I don't think so.
I don't think it's going to finish up then.
This is really bad. This is so dicey. That SCV is dancing. He's dancing with this probe.
Oh!
And it gets him down.
This is a disaster for Special. Now, he does have the backup SCV coming. Showtime knows that that's probably going to happen, so eventually this barracks will be completed. And at least this will allow Special to, you know, either build a factory or whatever else he wants to do after this. And he can, of course, start his Reaper. but not a pretty start for Special.
Absolutely not. And he does take off SCVs off the gas, so again, it's going to be more of an economic opening with the proxy, but already this has been thwarted pretty hard. The factory was a little bit later than it should be, the barracks a little later. Also, just losing an SCV economically, everything's a little bit worse for you. So kind of a sucky situation, honestly, for Special going into this game, but he had a very good Met game the game before, which, you know, his opening didn't necessarily do what he wanted to do that game either. It wasn't as bad as this, of course, but it's not over yet.
And it's the mental advantage, though. Like, we all know, we're all StarCraft players, we all play that. If you get a worker kill in the beginning of the game, it feels so good, especially if you're scouting the proxy immediately and you're delaying this proxy. It really does feel like you're getting 2 victories for the price of 1.
Definitely. This Nexus starts off at a good time as well, so, you know, he's not scared about any of the proxy, given that he delayed it and scouted it very, very early. He does chase this Reaper away. This is a map where it's pretty okay to scout Protoss if they don't build that wall, but that's exactly what Showtime did, so very difficult to scout the Protoss here in this situation.
If you would have told me that Showtime would have opened Robo 3 games in a row, I would have been like, nah, I don't believe that. I can see it 1 or 2 games, you know, but 3 games in a row going with the Robo first? I don't know.
We also saw some like Stargate play from him quite a bit in the series against Clement. He's very good at it too, but maybe he's kind of sent something out against Special. Maybe he wants to be a little bit safer against this player that he's not too sure of, has a different practice regime entirely.
Yep, well, there is extra barracks is being built already.
3 already.
For Special. He does have this 1 Cyclone, but he's going up to 3 barracks very quickly.
Oh, this might be like a combat shield push, like a really weird push timing. Like it's coming back in fashion a little bit, but right now the CC gets delayed. Like, this is a lot of bad stuff keeps happening to Special, and while each instance may not seem super bad, they just keep accumulating.
It's really important, by the way, that Special does not reveal this. Oh no, the Adept actually gets into the main base. How much did it see that? Did it see the extra barracks? That'd be massive. So the Reapers are counterattacking on the other side of the map, and they may be able to, I want to say, get something done, but no, there is a Stalker as well. This is a disastrous start for Special.
Okay, so the Cyclone is out, so he can kind of hold this low ground, but his economy truly bashed. He's been mining on 1 base this whole time, and Showtime's got a significant worker lead, and yet again.
11 workers ahead, and you know that your opponent's orbital command is not done yet. Special does find himself a Adept, that's very nice. Now the Robo in general, I do feel, is a very good building against almost any sort of a weird push. See, there's a lot of micro potential here, of course. For Showtime with the War Prism as well, you can actually start being aggressive, and yeah, there might be a tank eventually, but Showtime's got to be feeling very good about this game so far.
Absolutely. The starport has just started now. In fact, it's kind of halfway done, but tank production, marine production, there's no stim on the way, no combat shields on the way either. This is just a very low-tech army. It feels like Special just wants to do a little timing push. It's pretty good on this map with bunkers and tanks and lots of marines, but with no real air support like Banshees or anything, it's not got really any oomph to it.
I'm really confused that we did not see a single tech lab. Okay, now a tech lab is being added to the barracks, and I'm curious to see, I guess it is going to be for combat shield then, because I guess otherwise if you stim you just have no HP, but I don't know, man, I'm just kind of confused. I would have liked to see 2 tech labs, but maybe you just can't afford it.
Yeah, like as soon as you start playing the double tech lab game in this situation, you just slow down the game so much, and when your opponent's already ahead, it's kind of like he's already invested, and then you invest way later, you know, like it's almost not worth it. So I feel that Special's kind of got like 1 push in him and 1 time to try and get back into this game, because he's the one that has to make things happen.
I have to admit, I'm not feeling it. I really feel by the time this push arrives, there is going to be a Colossus on the battlefield. Thermal Lens already starting right now. First Colossus will probably, I wonder if he queued it up, because he just warped in sentries, and that would be a bit silly for Showtime, because you want to start your Colossus almost immediately. But Marines without stim and no Marauders in the army against a potential Guardian Shield and a Colossus, I feel like that's all you need. As long as you can fight the army, especially in the middle of the map, and you don't receive the push while you're sitting in your natural, this is looking really good for Showtime.
It is, but this army is scary if he catches Showtime off guard. I mean, 3 tanks are nothing to scoff at, and I mean, what really does Showtime have? Is he just going to buy time? Because it is a blink, right? Like, you can't just keep blinking away. I guess he can use the War Prism as a mini blink here. Maybe save the Stalker as well from the lock-on.
I picked up the wrong one. Maybe a little nervous there, but he's already getting some damage. Now the Liberator in the main base is actually being very annoying and somewhat successful. Good job there by Special that is even paying attention to that and saving that. Where is that Colossus, Showtime? You really need... Oh, he gets the tanks, actually.
This is so bad for Showtime now. We were talking about Showtime. He had to be ready for this. And, like, right now, Special, he's in the position that you want to be pushing. The gateways are vulnerable. The Robo will eventually be vulnerable too. This is bad, real bad. Showtime needs to break out of this very, very soon.
Yep, and actually a lot of Marines seem to have joined up with the army, right? It felt like it was very low at Marines at first, and he even lost a couple in the middle of the map, but a few more made their way to the other side of the map.
Oh, the Colossus stopped producing, but Showtime was very quick to rebuild that pylon. But the thing is, that Robo is not long for this world. Maybe you can start regenerating the shield with the shield battery on some of these buildings just to keep them alive. Does try and intercept the reinforcements, I guess, which is a nice move.
Yep, I do like that Special didn't send them one by one, but actually gathering up a couple of units. But this push is just becoming scarier and scarier. These Colossus gonna start fighting. Get the second one pop. Oh. Yes, it does. That is massive. But these bunkers are closely finishing up. The tanks are firing away at this Nexus. Showtime is displaying some beautiful patience, but he's gonna have to fight this eventually.
Definitely, but how do you fight this? I mean, the bunkers are up now, the SCVs are repairing. One nice thing, I suppose, is the SCV count is pretty low, but that is a lot of Special marching across the map, reinforcing with the SCVs, the Marines. Also, still not committing to Stim at this point in time, so this is a huge, huge all-in by Special, but what a neat all-in by him, because he was in such a bad position. Gateway on the high ground also falls. The Nexus goes down as well. Special is getting so much damage with this push. And Showtime, he's in a bad spot. He's doing all he can with this Warp Prism right now, but oh, it's so rough. Showtime can't spend his money. All his production's dead.
Yep, lost a lot of his production facilities. He had gateways in the natural. He had his Robo in the natural. There we go. He's going to rebuild a couple of them. He does still, I must say, I'm surprised he still has 4. And he's still making some magic happen on the other side of the map. These Marines don't have Stim. Don't lose the Warp Prism. Showtime. There is an Adept. Should be a Liberator showing up. But that one is a little bit late to the party. The Adepts will lose the fight against the Marines. But how much can Showtime achieve with his little counterattack?
I don't think too much. This Warp Prism, it's low on shield. Even the Liberator is very scary at this point in time. Even a Viking being made. And this hold by Special, he's just mining double his opponent at this point in time. Every second is a painful second for Showtime. And Special's just reveling in it.
Wouldn't it make sense for Special to get Stim now?
Yeah, I mean, you could even potentially tech into like pure mech at this point in time. Honestly, like, he can do anything.
Well, he's got the contain. He knows that eventually Showtime will probably have to break out of this, unless Showtime just puts a probe in the way. Is he just going to go for a full-on counterattack, or is he going to go for a very big flank? I guess Showtime has a couple options here. The problem is, none of those options look very pretty, because they include having to deal with 5 tanks in your natural, and bunkers, and a Liberator.
Oh, is he just going for the total bypass here? Maybe like going for the base trade, but still, that's a very dicey position. If Special sniffs this out, he just goes and kills the main base of Showtime. Oh, this could get dicey.
Yep, if Showtime picks up all of these Marines, that is a start. He wants to avoid it, actually. Maybe doesn't want to give the heads up. Obviously, this is not a good arm to break Liberators, guys. Like, I don't know how many Libs we have on the map. Currently, only 2 Liberators. Scan does go down, finds another Colossus in the main base. But at this point, Special should know something weird is up. How much does Special have at home?
Oh, and Special does sniff it out a little bit.
It's two tanks and a Liberator. It's going to be painful for Showtime, but he's got to have to go for it right here, right now. Showtime needs to break this setup for Special.
Definitely does, Kevin. Showtime's doing a pretty good job so far. The Marines even march into these Colossus as well, and they're not going to deal with that, but it just like Special's kind of flanking in with this army, and it's a decent amount of tanks. Big hits on those Immortals.
It feels like Showtime is running out of steam at this point. It didn't look like much what Special had there, but he had 2 tanks and a Liberator, and we said it, that army of Showtime was not good at breaking those kind of units. GG! Special will take the 2-1 lead in this best of 5.
And what a terrible start it was for him too. His proxy got scouted, his SCV died, his command center on the low ground got massively delayed too. That's the kind of victory that you have that you're like, wow, I am in this. After dropping the first map in the series pretty convincingly, I then come back in a really great mech game. I do all the right decisions in this one too. We talked about ways that he could win because he was definitely behind from that opening, and it felt like he picked the perfect build order choice against Showtime in that situation.
But it almost felt that Showtime did see it quite early, right? Like, maybe Showtime was even thinking of the next phase in the game already. I don't think Showtime was even that worried. He's like, there's nothing that can happen here. I'm playing safe. I've got a Sentry. I'm getting Thermal Lens. I've got an Immortal out already. I'm getting Observers. I feel like Showtime was planning for a later phase in the game than that immediate phase. And I think even if Showtime would have taken a bad fight, right? Like just full-on aim move with a Guardian Shield and all of his units, rather than trying to intercept the reinforcements, that would have been better because the push would eventually run out of steam. I feel like with 1 Colossus, Showtime could have just fought, And as long as you take out the Marines, those tanks will fall eventually. But once the setup gets up, man, it just becomes harder and harder.
There's a few things I definitely have to talk about Special's build, because this is something very, very new, actually. And the only reason I know about it is I saw it like the day that I was coming to this event. It was from like a TY stream. And one of the things that makes it so much stronger and hits so much earlier than the other builds, you get that starport so much more delayed. Your second and third barracks are actually before the starport, which means you have a much higher Marine count. You very much focus all your gas on the tanks. And then eventually, you get Liberators one by one. You don't even have a reactor on that starport. So it just hits a little bit earlier than the other timings. And obviously, Showtime wasn't ready for it. But that is just evolution in builds, right? Like, it's very cool to see this kind of evolution.
Definitely, I think, like you said, caught off guard in a way. But it's kind of funny because he saw the army move out with the Observer and he was already out there in the map. I just think sometimes you overthink stuff, right? Like sometimes you want to play it out in the most fancy way. It's like, okay, I'm just going to stay passive. I'm going to get my second Colossus and I'm just going to cut off the reinforcements in the middle of the map. And, you know, that's going to be brilliant and good and all. But I actually think just grabbing all the units together, Guardian Shield, just fight it immediately. Showtime's army was absolutely strong enough to fight those tanks before they were sieged up. And I just think the moment you let them siege, the bunkers goes up. It just becomes such a weird and awkward game where there's almost no right move anymore.
Yeah, as soon as those tanks got up to that high ground, pretty much easily too. I mean, he pushed out across the map, there was nothing there. It was like 4 Stalkers and an Immortal and a Warp Prism trying to hold him.
Kudos to Juanita, by the way, for that Liberator in the main base, because I feel like that
distracted him, yeah.
That really made things a little harder for Showtime. He lost a couple probes, he was forced to warp in Stalkers at home, and because of that, he messed up the pickup on one of the Stalkers, and clearly he wasn't kiting anymore. He wasn't fighting that army in the middle of the map, he just kind of let it walk towards his side of the map. So that Liberator, that first lib in the main, sort of the MVP lib.
Definitely, and already 2-1 up in this series. Spawning the bottom left of Automaton, it is Special.
Alex is going to take his time with that.
I know. We have the Russian commentators here, and his intros are amazing.
On the right top side, we're looking at the main base of our German Protoss. He's down 1-2. Can he bring it back? It is Showtime.
Yeah, definitely probably feeling a little rustled after that game, because we talk about how good it feels to Special to win a game where you lose your like proxy barracks, SCV and stuff, but to lose a game where that good start happens for you, that feels rough.
I'm kind of surprised he's sending out a probe that early, and for a second I was like, what are you going to do here? And Special actually going for a pause. I am spiking. Okay.
It was interesting. I love the probe scouting the main base, by the way. When you've played against players like Marine Lord a lot on the European ladder, there are these weird positions for proxy barracks, proxy factories. So if you're wondering why he scouted the bottom left of his base there, you can often see it on the low ground right there. And I mean, Special has been playing cheeky. I mean, he had a fake proxy, a real proxy barracks.
The Ghost Rush. People still try it from time to time. Build a barracks outside of your main, float it into your main, tech lab, EMP the probes, and one-shot all of them. It's a funny build. We haven't seen it this tournament yet, and it's not something that's super common, but hey, once in a blue moon, especially against guys you know are greedy and lazy with their scouting. But I don't think we can really say that about Showtime. So far, throughout this best of 5, I think he has been pretty on point when it comes to checking for proxies, checking inside of his base, checking the outskirts as well.
I feel like Showtime's also been playing super safe this series in general, you know, like not probing up super high, not playing super greedy. You could say in that game right there, he played maybe a little bit greedy on the probe count, given that he kind of knew an all-in was coming. But again, that Adept Shade very early on where we were like, did it see the actual 2 extra barracks building? And it didn't. That could have actually turned the game in a lot of ways.
Yeah, maybe that would have just given him a little more information and just gave him somewhat more time to put the pieces in the right place and figure out what is the right response, when should I fight this, when should I engage it. But I do think you make a good point there. Like we said, this has been 3 Robo games in a row, right? 3 times Robotics Facility. It was Showtime who did the crazy 4 Oracle Adept build against Clem, right? On New Repugnancy.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like, okay, that is like almost a completely different player because you delay your Twilight, you delay your Robo, you go 4 Oracles and you just shove it all in and you just hope you take down a lot of SCVs. Yeah, we've seen very little of that.
A different Showtime from day to day almost. I mean, that was definitely an aggressive Showtime. Maybe he felt like he plays Clem a lot more, so maybe he could expose some weaknesses in his play. But against Special, he is a bit of an enigma. You know, you don't often get to see what he does or what he's up to. We saw the GSL games recently, but what can you really learn from those games? Because SOS plays a totally different style. I guess you can take into account that he played very good against all the aggression that SOS threw at him, so maybe he wanted to play totally different to that. Who knows?
Seems like the players are still kind of figuring it out. Showtime says that he has no issues, but I think Special is still a little bit concerned about it. If I know anything more, I'll let you guys know. But I think we're almost good to go. I think Special will just give it another go, and then hopefully we can continue with Game 4 on Automaton.
So far, it's been a very interesting series, though. Like a lot of chaos.
Surprising, and like I feel like the games, Game 2, it felt like, you know, this is actually a pretty decent initial start for Showtime. I was like, I really like where this is going. You scout, late command center, economically strong. Then it's kind of a couple of odd choices, and it turned into a mech game. The previous game, a disastrous start, the kind of start that if that was a ladder game, there's a good chance people will leave.
Yeah, you don't even type GG and leave, you know, it's that kind of game.
Hey, no, Ben. We always GG, okay?
I always GG.
We're in the spirit of White right here. He's in the building. We always GG.
And I want that skill, Kevin.
Exactly. No, but, you know, and obviously a tournament game is different. It's not a ladder game, and you'll try a little bit harder. And people will say, like, that's why you should never leave early. And, you know, 99% of the time, maybe not 99, but like 95% of the time, that is an almost impossible game to win. For the Terran players, it's a horrific start, and then, yeah, you make things harder on yourself, and you get one or two things going, but then you still end up losing. But Special showing us here that tournament spirit where you don't tap out early, but you just try to throw a curveball, because that's what it was, right? It was an odd build in the end, and hey, every now and then, it will land.
Definitely. So this is a far more regular opening by Special. There's no proxy racks on the field, nothing to worry about. Showtime gets the full scout off, and they both kind of going to soon realize that they're playing a normal standard game against one another. Automaton is definitely a large map. Now, the rush distances between the bases are pretty huge by land. By air, it gets a little bit shorter, but it's just because of how the mains work out. Now, it is nice and easy to deny scouting for a Protoss here, given that you can make that wall on the high ground. There's also that huge natural entrance, which very often it's very good for sneaking in Hellions into the natural base of a Protoss.
Yeah, I think Hellion Banshee is a very popular opening on this map for all the reasons you just mentioned, right? A lot of surface area for the Hellions, and for Banshees from main to main, it actually doesn't take that long. But we do have a Stargate opening here by Showtime. I'm kind of happy to see it after 3 games, perhaps feeling that the Robots are not working out in the way that he wanted to work out. I think Alex made a joke, but
he's a funny guy. But we do have a reactor Hellions being made here. So a big, nice scout from the probe. Also, did you see that dance between the Reaper and the probe? Like, Showtime was thinking, like, when does this Reaper move out? Special wanted to still get that probe to deny this information. Now, this is a pretty big deal. He's going for the 3rd and 4th Hellion, and it is straight Phoenix production at this point in time.
Phoenixes, I think, are pretty good in defending Hellions, but this is where things get a little bit interesting, Ben. Just as if the first 4 Hellions just immediately drive to the other side of the map, you often only have 1 Phoenix. Best case scenario, you have 2, but that's a little bit unlikely. And there is no shield battery in the natural. I'm starting a little bit concerned here. Yes, there are 2 adepts, 3 adepts even. Okay, this is a bit sloppy by Special. He should not be taking this much damage on his Hellions.
No, and he, like, I mean, the Hellions were already confirmed, but the position of the Hellions is now super confirmed. Now, these Phoenix are playing very safe in the main base. Now, he just have to realize that it's not a medevac drop kind of thing. It is just straight YOLO into the natural, but nice. It does look like Showtime is very prepared for this.
The defensive shading there is actually really cool, but this goes back to that first Hellion taking too much damage. Otherwise, you just go through it immediately. It would have hit faster. Now, of course, there is still that Banshee. There is Cloak on the way as well. Eventually, these Phoenixes would love to scout that, but I think it's okay to pick a Hellion or 2 up Showtime. These Hellions still costed money. They're not that expensive, but hey, it always feels good to pick up 100 minerals.
And one thing we've really seen from Special in this series as well, he utilizes units to their very, very maximum, and he will always try to get damage done with them. Like that Banshee in that game on Port Alexander. But here, oh my gosh.
That was a bad shade. The reverse shadings were really good. They'll sort of trap the Hellions, but are they really trapped when they can take out the majority of these probes, line them up? 6 workers going down. Showtime had such a beautiful initial defense, and the first defense is so much harder than this one. That's just a bit sloppy.
Yeah, I think he was distracted. He killed one of the Hellions, right, with his Phoenix, and he was like, yeah, he's not going to come in again, right? No, he definitely did.
There is a Banshee heading towards the natural. There is an Oracle out, but the Phoenixes are on the other side of the map.
And no shield battery here at all either. This is rough. This is really bad for Showtime. The Hellion damage was bad, but this is truly terrible. The denied mining as well. Showtime's in a world of pain here.
The recall, this is massive. Now one of these Banshees will get tagged, but hey, is it ever only 1 Banshee? I mean, there is a second Banshee on the way, correct? Yes, it just popped, so it's gonna take a little while. Now he's even forced to make a second Oracle. Oh my goodness.
That's one of the really bad things about this. Now he has to make that second Oracle, which you don't really want to be making at this point in time. Yeah, Oracles are pretty decent for dealing damage and stuff and for revelating, but it's not something you can really afford at this point in time. A fourth Nexus doesn't look like it's going to start anytime soon. Having to make shield batteries now after the damage has been done, it's a bad situation for Showtime and behind him workers.
It just feels like it's going from bad to worse. I mean, if you were just looking at the vision of Showtime for a little bit, this is all he sees. That's not ever what a Protoss player wants. If you play Phoenixes, you want to be out on the map. You're supposed to be the one who's annoying. You're lifting a little SCV that's building a depot, that's building a barracks or a factory, whatever it is. The ones that are mining. The Phoenix player is supposed to be annoying, and Terran is kind of supposed to be sitting there without any vision. The tables are turned. Phoenix are out of position now. I do think he left maybe 1 or 2 at home to deal with that second Banshee. The Showtime is going to try, and hey, we saw Special make comebacks, so hopefully for Showtime, he is capable of making a comeback as well.
I mean, he's not down and out. He's definitely behind at this point in time. Special's doing a lot of things right, too. He's just getting a really decent army together, getting good upgrades, stim, combat shields, turrets in nice positions as well. This Banshee, there is a shield battery here.
We can ignore it. There's one probe for free, but I feel like he didn't want to give the alert.
No, he didn't. Like, yep. And it's very smart. Goes over to the more vulnerable base. That was really smart by Pepito. It was nice, though. Given that he didn't have a shield battery in this phase, this is where he had his Oracle and Phoenix, so he could react faster. So they're both playing really smart. They're doing everything they can.
It's both smart, but it's once again very good for Juanito. I love how happy that made you that he didn't attack with the bench. I see like a massive smiling face, like, oh my goodness, that is so good. Because yes, what Showtime did there is smart. Shield battery in the main. If you have one battery, the bench is not going to get any probes. Once in a while, you get like one, you know, if the shots sync up. Or
but any damage is bad damage.
Yep. But obviously, in the natural, you know, still you need to attack the Banshee with Revelation, and then it still takes a couple seconds for that one Phoenix. Phoenix's kill Banshees very quick, but if it's only one Phoenix, you still end up losing a couple of probes. So really good decision making by Showtime, and these supplies, by a Special, and these supplies do not lie. Special already at 120. Showtime trying to close in and try to break 100.
And his army is going to be very basic as Showtime. It's going to be a pure Phoenix charge lot at this point in time. He's taking up to High Templar, but right now it is looking very dicey for him. He does have 900 gas to spend, so High Templars can start joining the field.
You know what I would almost like here? Instead of Archons, I'd like to see him go Storm immediately. And in general, I'm not even a big fan of rushing into Storm when you don't have that much to back up your Storms. But this reminds me a little bit of another game that we casted, the Hero against Alive game. And Hero did not win that game because of the Archons. He won that game because of the Storms, right? And I feel like Storm is a greater comeback mechanic than Archons are in general.
The thing is, though, would Special have given him the time? It would have been really, really close, really rough. This Stasis, I love the fact that he sent forward a smaller group, because that is one time-buying mechanic that Showtime has, but this is a really hard army to stop.
I mean, Scan goes down as well, so he spots the second Stasis trap. There is another one on the high ground. There are quite a few Zealots here, but the Widow Mines are the scary thing. Maybe Phoenixes can do friendly fire. That's exactly what Showtime tries to achieve there. And he did it to some degree, but I still feel that this Protoss army is already starting to run out of steam. I saw what he tried to do there, but Special also saw what Showtime tried to do there.
Very nice micro control by Special, and Showtime, he's on the back ropes here. I mean, the army is getting kind of low from Special from just stimming, but these Archons, if he micros correctly against them, they're not really going to be dealing enough damage. There are some juicy shots on those Marines, though. But these Widow Mines,
Such a good job in borrowing the mines there as well. Showtime clearly trying to drag the mine fire above the Marines, but Special once again preventing it. You're right, the army is starting to get a little bit stimmed, but this Protoss army is becoming less and less impressive. The next fight, there is no Guardian Shield, and we cannot emphasize enough on how big of a deal Guardian Shield is for Zealots when they're going up against this many Marines. Now the mines is starting to do some real damage to this Protoss army as well, and I think that Special can already smell his way into the semifinals.
And what a way he's been playing too. Marvelous comebacks, marvelous pushing, great pressure, even putting up a third behind this, and he's fully saturated on that third too. Widow Mines, Liberators join the field even more. Showtime pushed away from his third, and this army just keeps marching out across the map. Showtime trying to do what he can with the reinforcements, but at this point, it feels too little too late.
Definitely feels like the writing is on the wall for this one, as Special is moving forward, ready to punch that ticket. He's got it now, he's bought it. The Archons will try to do whatever they can, but there is no answer against these Liberators. 3 Phoenixes is not going to be enough. And I think in the end, a rather surprising quarterfinals here. I think a lot of people were leaning towards Showtime. Still feeling that, that Protoss against Terran, especially in the hands of someone like Showtime, can be very strong for the Protosses. But Juanito is showing us that what he performed in the GSL, that was not a fluke, that was not an off day. No, he is in shape and he's ready for him to perhaps finally even make it to a final here at the WCS event.
Oh, and Showtime going for a one last-ditch effort hold, but no, GG Special taking a 3-1 victory over Showtime. And Special played magnificent, like this wasn't, or rather, yeah, Special played magnificent. Like, this wasn't a series where I felt one player played super duper terrible. This was Special just bringing something very, very new to the table, very fresh, did it very well too, and there is the man himself, just walking over, looking happy, and he's going to be going up against Neeb in the next match, which is insane, actually. That is sick.
They've got a lot of history. It's going to be an all-NA semi-final in the upper bracket of WCS Spring. But for now, let's go ahead and let's hear what Juanito has to say about this quarterfinals that he just had against Showtime.
Thank you very much, Rotterdam. Congratulations, Special. Not only are you advancing to your first semifinal in almost a year, it must be even more satisfying to do so, taking down such a strong opponent like Showtime.
Yeah, I was a little nervous before the game because I know he's very good, and I can't really research him very well. I can only went from the Clems game that he played yesterday, but yeah, it was a very hard match, and I think I got a little bit lucky.
Well, it was such a fantastic series, so many action-packed games. I want to talk specifically about Kairos Junction because it was such an awful start for you, to be honest, and yet you were still able to bring it back and take that win. So walk us through your thought process throughout that map.
So since game 2, I did like a macro proxy. Like I went proxy, but I went 3CC and then played like the mech game. And game 3, I decided to go very aggressive because I'm normally very good with this build. And I think he underestimated it and went a little bit too greedy, so that's why he lost. So I was really sad when he scouted right away, but I knew if he went according to plan, I should be able to take the win.
Take the win indeed, and now moving forward, you're going to be playing another Protoss player, and it's Neeb. Now, in your head-to-head score, Neeb is really, really ahead. He's won the last 4 times that you've played him, but that being said, you just took down Showtime. Your TVP lately has been looking phenomenal, so this time around, are you feeling a bit more confident than in the past?
Well, we always play, and even if the score is like that, we always have like close series, no matter what. So it's like he's a good player, I'm a good player, so I think it's gonna be close, and I hope I can take it this time to break the curse of round of 4.
Well, congratulations again, Juanito. And with that, it is Special securing his spot in the top 4 here at WCS Spring.
That's right. Welcome back to the analysis desk here. Terran confirmed in the top 4. It's Juanito himself. I know that there's a really famous copy paster. I think it's launched this torpedo to help Juanito. That's the one. And to my left-hand side here, I have Maynard and Pig. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But anyway, guys, obviously 3-1 there going over to Special. Showtime definitely had some glimmers during all of that, especially with the one map that he did bring himself. But slowly but surely, we saw Juanito be able to really shore up his game plan.
Yeah, I mean, Showtime is he's one of those players who is sort of on the more predictable side than on non-predictable side. And I think it's kind of why Showtime did better in that first game was because he actually did get really quite aggressive.
Yeah.
Whereas he couldn't really upset the game plan of Special in the others. Special had a bunch of builds planned out. It wasn't the same composition every game. He did, throw out the battle mech as well, which is getting very popular in this matchup right now. Let's have a look at these highlights here, yeah. I mean, see, this is the aggressive play from Showtime. Very early Warp Prism, getting gateways, units in the main base.
Yeah.
Sniping add-ons, picking off so many SCVs, and that's...
I mean, it was almost a harbinger of things to come, realistic, when you look at it. Showtime put on all of this aggression, tried to use as much micro as possible. However, that micro, even though Showtime ends up winning this, it still wasn't successful enough to be able to kind of try and trounce everything that Special was going to throw at him, Pig, throughout the rest of this series.
Yeah, this was just... It was a good way to start the series for Showtime, and I think Special actually handled this first game very well.
Agreed.
And it was impressive that Showtime rolled with the punches as well as he did. I feel like Showtime has been adding a lot more aggression. Roddy was saying it in the cast. Yeah, he's still Demao, he's still great defensively, but he's starting to mix in more aggression. So this was a really just exciting, fast-paced, back-and-forth start to the game. Obviously, things didn't end up going too well with a few of these beautiful catches in the middle of the map for Showtime. But just a very close fought series back and forth. And personally, I just love the mech that came out after this game because it's just adding that extra thing. We've seen it in Zerg vs Terran for a while where Protoss where Zerg players have to kind of worry, is Terran going to go bio? Are they going to go mech? And now we see mech coming out so much against Protoss. And I feel like a lot of players are getting caught off guard. We saw in this game, Showtime never really got up into a super powerful position. His first aggression, not able to break special setup. And then just the pushes were relentless. Even though there was some nice flanking, some good disruptor shots like this one.
This one was juicy. Goodbye every single Widowmine.
It was so nice, wasn't it? But just the numbers, when you're fighting mass tank Cyclone Heli and you're down in supply every engagement, it's really, really tough. So Special with just a very nice macro mech build. And I feel like from there on, Showtime felt just a little bit more uncomfortable in the series and very worried about what Special was going to throw his way.
Do you feel like Special is relishing in this kind of, I won't say meta shift, because we've slowly been going towards this, but the way the meta is currently? Because Special, he's a guy that likes watching his Korean Terrans. He's a guy that likes drawing from them. But also, I feel like he was always a guy that would have loved to have been able to use mech in these situations, but always had to use bio, even though he was very good with bio. So what are your thoughts regarding that?
No, I mean, most Terrans felt that way. They felt like bio was the way
fair.
to go, that it was just the better path, and mech was just the worst path. And it was we have believed as Terrans for a very long time for that to be objectively the truth.
Objectively.
But lately, since the rollback on the Cyclone change, people have been finding a little bit more utility with this battle mech composition.
Yeah.
And actually finding it that's really quite useful against these scary Protoss units. Disruptors are still quite frightening with this kind of unit comp. And these kind of pushes, which are also new to the meta relatively, you know, they're probably about half a year old now, but you can just do these bunker pushes with a bunch of tanks, and it makes it very tough for a Protoss, even one as good as Showtime, to look comfortable against something like this. This was a good catch, I guess. Like, he is getting a lot of bio, but this contain is so powerful, and it chokeholds your opponent. It doesn't give them any space. Obviously, a third is off the table. You could try and pick off reinforcements with gateway units and that sort of thing. Maybe if you have a Prism out there, you can be really annoying, but it's just so hard. And Special just,
The small rush
squeeze them out
distance
there.
maps, you know, Kairos Junction, Cyber Forest, both of them, it feels like those pushes can be a bit surprising. And this here really surprised me because I think in this game, Showtime is going to be pretty upset. You know, he scouted the Hellions. He picked up one of them. He could have picked up more of those Hellions, but he took a lot of probe losses there. He lost another 6 to the first Banshee despite scouting the starport and the tech lab. And this really was just a botched opening for Showtime in the final game. And I know he's going to be very upset with his performance in that opening. He had the information and he just played incorrectly. Special, a very clean, you know, really just systematic victory.
Yeah.
But the way he just steamrolled over Showtime, that's you know, that's partially Special playing fantastic. This last game, it's also Showtime making some massive mistakes.
Well, up to towards the final moments in this game as well, Maynard, we were talking about it. It feels really difficult for a Protoss when you're pushed up against the wall quite like this to not have some decent range on your AoE damage. You don't have plus you don't have Storm. You only have to rely on like Archons and Charge Lots, which are never going to be able to do that well against that kind of bio with that kind of momentum.
Yeah, it feels like most TVPs, if it's going to be like a bio opening and sort of like a quote-unquote regular TVP with bio and mines and factory units, there is some kind of timing attack where Terran will go across the map where they do have a bigger army and they do have a better army, but it's up to the Protoss to have, like you mentioned, some kind of splash damage.
Sure.
Whether it be a Colossus, which DNS likes to do, or going for, say, you know, Archons or a bunch of Charge Lots and that sort of thing. It is a very hard push to hold. And then a lot of TVPs look that way. Big attack from the Terran, then the Protoss either holds or doesn't hold, and then goes in the mid game.
And that confirms it. We have our round of 4 confirmed up towards the top. Neeb will play against Special. Will Special be able to push himself onto a grand final there and break that round of 4 curse? Will be very interesting to see up towards the top later on in the day. However,